Thanks for joining me for this edition of the Author's Corner, brought to you by KNEO 91.7 FM, The Word. I'm Roberta Foster. And today I welcome Ramona Tuma to Author's Corner, and she's the author of the book Prisoner of Hope, Captured by Grace, which is published by Carpenter's Son Publishing. She'll tell you more about how to find the book at the end of the program. And so let me tell you a little bit about Ramona. She is a woman who has triumphed in love over adversities of many kinds. In recent years, she's faced multiple dramatic health challenges, but earlier in life, even more dramatic scenes of domestic abuse, abduction of her children, and even hearing from a hitman hired to kill her. We're going to be hearing how she relied on God and trusted Him regardless of what came her way. And so, Ramona, thank you so much for being with us on Author's Corner.
Well, thank you for having me.
Well, you have quite a devastating but glorious testimony. Tell us why you decided to put this in print and what you hope will be accomplished by your book.
I have been through a lot, as you can tell by just your introduction, and I feel like many things that I've been through, other people have gone through, but they haven't found answers for it.
Okay.
And when I was in my younger age, this is like 30, 40 years ago, I was looking for someone who could help me, but no one had gone through what I had gone through. So I had no answers, virtually no answers. And so I didn't want other people to feel that way, other women especially, to feel that way, that they just have no answers. And so I wrote this book, and I just finished a second book called Whispering Hope, and it'll be out in January, where I'm able to give the women and men too. Men have read it and had very good reviews on it, but just some solutions to how to get through extremely hard times.
So tell us, when did you become a Christian, and when did you start trusting Him with your life? What led up to you actually finding Jesus as Lord and Savior?
I was raised in a very strong Christian home, and so Christianity has always been my background.
Okay.
Then when I was 16, I met a guy that was going to be a seminary student, and so I thought that this was the one. He was a Christian man, I thought, but he was quite older than I. He was 11 years older than I. So he was not a godly man, but I had 2 children by him. The first child was going to save our marriage, and the second child, he gave me no choice. So with all of those experiences, finally after 4 or 5 years, I was able to get out of that relationship. But after doing that, when I got out, he kidnapped the children, and I did not know where they were for over a year. And then through an anonymous phone call, we found them. And I met my present husband, Jerry, by that time. And without him, I don't know where my kids would be. But anyway, so after we went through that experience of not being able to find them and then having them returned, we went through 4.5 years of court trial, which ended up with a contract on my life, a $38,000 contract on my life, because he saw the writing on the wall that he was going to have all of his custody removed, and he said, no, that's not going to happen. I'm going to do it this way. So he put the contract on my life, and I found out about that through a telephone call with the man who received all the money to kill me, the judge, and my attorney and my counselor. That were all on my side on this, and he put a contract on our life.
So as you look back, you obviously went through a lot of challenging situations. And how did you how did you commit or continue to trust the Lord through this? Was he an involved part of your life at that time, or was there a future scenario that brought your relationship with the Lord to be much deeper?
I left the Lord for a couple of years. I mean, when he took my kids and all that I'd been through with that, had prayed many times and asked the Lord to change things, and he had not. Even when I was married, I had asked the Lord to change things, and he had not. So I left him, but at the same time, with my Christian background, I couldn't totally leave him.
Mm-hmm.
I always knew he was there.
Right.
And I had major answers to prayer. I had major disappointments in prayer. But I had major answers to prayer, and I couldn't deny that God was God.
Mm-hmm.
And so in this book that I just wrote, Whispering Hope, I talk about very specifically my relationship with the Lord and how I had to find out in my study the facts about God so that I could never be waver ever again from who he is.
Wonderful. Well, let me remind the listeners that I'm talking with Ramona Tuma regarding her book, Prisoner of Hope, Captured by Grace. It's published by Carpenter Son Publishing, and you're listening to Author's Corner, and I'm Roberta Foster. So anybody that's gone through as much as you have, we would suspect that you probably had some doubts as time was going along. Did you ever wonder why God would allow so much of this to happen to you, and how that was going to bring him glory in any way?
Yes. In addition to all that, I've had 3 rounds of cancer and 2 strokes. So I'm pretty much, I'm able to walk on a walker and stuff, but I had to get to the point where I really go into this in Whispering Hope, where I had to surrender. It is one thing to say you're surrendering to God, but I had to surrender whether I lived or died, because at some point I wanted to die. Yeah. I just wanted to die. But I had to give the Lord the choice in that. Not my choice, but his. And that is real surrender when you are surrendering your entire life to him. And that's the only place I have peace, is in that surrender.
Well, you mentioned finding your husband, Jerry. Tell us a little bit about how the Lord brought him into your life.
Well, I told you that I went through a couple of years where I was just not following the Lord. And believe it or not, that's how I met Jerry. I met him in a bar.
Okay.
But he was looking for the Lord, and so was I.
Okay.
And so we came to the Lord together. And then shortly thereafter we were married, but we came to the Lord together, and that was one of my answered prayers. That's when I knew that God loved me and was caring for me. The other thing is he took over my children as though they were his. He adopted them, and they have a wonderful relationship. And now my son is 52, and my daughter is 50. And all my grandchildren follow the Lord.
Oh,
and,
wonderful.
We don't have any, they all know from my testimony in their own lives and Jerry's testimony in their lives that the only answer to life is God.
Amen. Well, we oftentimes quote Romans 8:28, that all things work together for good to those who love God. And you have made this statement: we trust that everything that happens to us is for one purpose, to make us more like Christ and to love him on earth and for eternity. And that is the goal, isn't it? To love Jesus and be so thankful for all that he's done for us.
Yes, it is. And to, again, trust him.
Mm-hmm.
Trust him with our whole life. I'm 72 now, and all these things happen, a lot of these things, not the cancer or the stroke, but all these happened when I was in my 20s.
Mm.
And so I was in a black hole in my 20s until that was the beginning of the process of my surrender.
Okay. So tell us about another lesson that you have learned through your life and how it can be a testimony to those listening to this interview and how it can be beneficial to their life.
God never failed us. We think that he failed us. Like, for example, when we got my children back, they were terribly abused.
Mm.
And I had prayed diligently and believed that God was going to restore them. And then when I got them back, they were both abused, very seriously abused. And I went, what God, what is this? What is this?
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have answers for that until the children were older and until I saw their walk with God.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't know what would have happened if life would have gone a different way. I don't know what would have happened to my children if they had not known the Lord. I do know. But, at the time when I was walking through all this, I didn't know. But that's where trust came. Mm-hmm. Trust is different than faith. Faith is just, okay, we have faith out there that he's going to do things and he's going to answer our prayers and stuff. But then there's trust. That's a bedrock of I can't be moved from this faith because of my trust in him.
Well, Ramona, I notice in your book that most of your chapters have what you call a life lesson. And
yes.
What inspired you to include those in your book?
My grandmother was a very godly woman, and she had such peace. She went through so many things. She died when she was 90, and she had such peace all of her life that was the thing that was my glue. And I learned a lot of those life lessons by watching her life. And so incorporating those into the book and was, to me the best way that I could honor her life.
Okay, well, great. So once again, I've been talking to Ramona Tuma about her book, Prisoner of Hope, Captured by Grace. And so before you leave us, Ramona, tell our listeners how they can find out more about this book, and tell us again when your second book is coming out.
Okay, Amazon is carrying them all, and Carpenter Sons. That's the company that's publishing it. And the new book will be out sometime in January.
Okay. And as you have mentioned before, it's called Whispering Hope. And so the book we're talking about today, though, that you can get right now is Prisoner of Hope, Captured by Grace. And it's written by Ramona Tuma and published by Carpenter Son Publishing. We appreciate them providing a copy of the book for us. And Ramona, thank you so much for being with us today on Author's Corner.
Well, thank you for having me, and you have a wonderful Christmas.
Thank you, and you as well. And to our listeners, if you'd like to hear this interview again or share it with another, you can find it on your favorite podcast platform or through kneo.org. Thank you for tuning in. This is Roberta Foster on the Author's Corner. Join us again next time.